You're here to learn Inventions Evolution of Ideas, and you don't have time for some silly little intro because you have things to invent. Now, I don't own the game because this is a small channel and publishers don't send us things, so I'm going to teach you using Tabletopia and my laptop, which I'm pulling out of this bookshelf for some reason. Now I'm sitting on a chair with my legs crossed and a dog at my feet to seem more casual to put you at ease with a fairly complicated game you're about to learn. Inventions Evolution of Ideas tells the story of humanity through the technological advancements that shaped how we live. You take on the role of an ever-progressing society. Now your goal is to contribute to the story of humanity and become the most noteworthy society in history. Throughout the course of the game, you'll present new ideas to the world so that brilliant people can invent them and then hopefully others share them. Present, invent, share. These are the core actions of the game, and the player with the most ingenuity points is the winner. I'm at the table now because my back hurts. Now let's get this game set up, shall we? With my laptop. Oh, hi there. I'm Leonardo da Vinci. Maybe you know me. I'm kind of a big deal. Anyway, me and my inventor boys will be popping up from time to time to give you notes, hints, and other bits of useful information. For now, I just want to let you know that this game is set up for 4 players. If you want to know how to set it up for any other number of players, look it up in the rulebook yourself, you big dumb lazy. Da Vinci, out. We're going to go through the setup steps fairly quickly here to get to the good stuff, so make sure you keep up. First, place the main board on the table. The hardest setup step is now completed. Congratulations. Each player chooses a color and takes all markers of their chosen color. Place all scoring markers on space 0 of the Ingenuity Points track. That's the scoring track. The player who subscribed to this channel first goes first. Turn order is then clockwise from the starting player. Place turn order markers on the turn order track accordingly. Place the era marker for each player under the second era section in any order. Place each player's influence marker on space 1 of the influence track. Place the Chronos meeple on the leftmost space of the era track under the first era. Place 1 Sage meeple on each empty Sage space on the region map. Place 1 random knowledge tile, chain action side up, on an empty knowledge space in each region. Separate the milestone tiles by letter and shuffle deck A and place 1 tile from it face up on each space of the common knowledge display. Now shuffle milestone deck B and place 1 tile from it face up on each of the 4 player displays on the board. This is the player's private milestone display area. Place a citizen token of the corresponding player color on each milestone. Next, place the 3 milestone tiles labeled C face up next to the board. This is the Eureka display. Place decks D, E, and F above the Eureka display. Place 1 random specialist tile face up in each region display. Separate the idea cards by era and create a deck for each. Set aside eras 1 and 2. Take the 5 idea cards labeled A from the era 2 idea stack and place them randomly in each region display except the displays with the specialist tiles with the share and present bonuses. Stock the economy, culture, and technology progress tiles separately. For each type of tile, create 7 stacks. 1 for each unique number. Place each stack face up on any display space for that type. Separate the wealth tiles by letter and randomly place them face up on the indicated space in each region display to the left of the idea space. For each of the A to D tiles, place a number of tiles equal to the player count. For each E to G tile, place a number that depends on the player count. We're playing with 4, so place all 3 of each. Separately shuffle the idea eras 3, 4, 5, and 6 decks. Then create a single face-up idea stack in era order. Please tell me you at least know how to count. With the main board all set up, let's tackle your personal supply board. Place 2 citizens in your academy as scholars and 1 in the upper home spaces of each specialty area: economy, culture, and technology. Sort the private goal cards into 3 decks by type. Take 3 private goal cards, 1 random card of each type. And remember to keep those cards secret from your opponents, you big blabbermouth. Set aside your +1 influence token for now, and place your other 4 on the 4 matching influence spaces. Place 1 of your economy tokens on its space on your society board, and the other 2 economy tokens on the matching progress hexes on your progress map. Take the idea from the Era 2 stack of the idea cards that depicts your milestone's name. Place it to the right of your society board. In turn order, each player takes an Era 3 idea card from the top of the idea stack and places it to the right of their board. Now lay the top 3 cards face up next to the deck to create the idea display. Take 2 random inventions from the Era 1 stack of prehistoric invention cards. Place your 3 action tokens on the unavailable side of your society board. Place your 3 pillars of time, both the epoch pillar and the 2 season pillars, near your society board. Keep the 4 aspiration tiles and your remaining citizens near your society board. This is your citizen supply. And we are all done setup. Oh wait, I lied. We are not done yet. We have one more setup called the Stone Age round. However, you might want to perform this setup step after you've already learned all the rules to the game, because there are some choices that you have to make. Perform the Stone Age setup in reverse turn order. First, choose a region with an idea card. Next, place as many scholars or specialists on the specialist tile in the region display as required, making sure the specialist comes from the same type as the idea card. Gain the benefits on that specialist tile. Then, place your +1 influence token that you set aside earlier in the leftmost space in the influence display of the same region. Finally, place 1 citizen from your supply to that same region's location on the map. Once everyone has done this, discard all idea cards with no specialists on their specialist tile. With the Stone Age setup out of the way, you can now continue this 1 round era, just like every other era, except you'll only place your APOC pillar. This is the only time you'll place that APOC pillar from off the board. Throughout the rest of the game, you'll only move it from its current location. After performing that 1 action, you still perform the Aspiration Becomes Progress and build progress steps just like any other round, but we'll discuss those later. Once everyone has had a turn, perform only the last 2 steps of the era change sequence, and then proceed with the next round. Before we go through all the actions you can perform, I want you to have a good understanding of all the game components and the general key concepts in the game. Although I won't go into too much detail because I think some of them are best explained during the relevant actions. So let's go over the main board together. This is the era track. The game takes place over 6 eras and is tracked by the Chronos meeple. Here, you'll also find your own era markers, which can sometimes be behind or ahead of Chronos, depending on the choices you make in the game. Each of these eras also has a letter associated with it, which will be important when we discuss the milestones later. The game ends once Chronos reaches the last era, which essentially acts as a scoring round. Here are the milestone displays, consisting of the common milestones in this column and the private milestones in this column. Milestones are like the knowledge gained by your society or by all of humanity. They act like prerequisites to the ideas you'll be inventing in the game. I bet you think you can have bread without the knowledge of fire. Silly non-inventor. Next is the assembly, which is divided into 5 forums. Each forum has 2 different action spaces. This is where you'll be placing your pillar tokens to perform the actions in the game. Next to the assembly is the influence track. You'll be spending and gaining influence throughout the course of the game. This pretty blue area is the region map. You'll be placing your citizens here, using knowledge tiles, and getting new scholars. Each region is connected to a specific region display, located above and below the region map, where you'll also be placing citizens. These displays are where you'll be placing your ideas, inventing those ideas, and then innovating on those inventions. With the main board out of the way, let's tackle your personal society board and the components that you'll be using. But don't worry, we'll be moving on to the action soon, I promise. To the left of your society board is where you'll keep your invention cards that will benefit you throughout the game. And to the right of the board is where you'll keep your idea cards that will hopefully become invention cards during the game. This is your home area, which is divided into 3 columns: economy, culture, and technology. And these funky little heads, they're the specialists that live here. Think of them as a sort of resource you'll have to spend to perform an action. Each specialist has his own unique trade depending on his home: traders, artisans, and thinkers. Next to your home area is the academy. This is where your scholars live. Specialists and scholars are both referred to as citizens because you can often use scholars in replace of specialists for some actions. Think of scholars as wild party animals, much like myself. Sometimes you'll need to exhaust a citizen when you see this icon here. Exhausted citizens, be they scholars or specialists, go under the relevant home sections located in this row. Under your home section are the influence tokens that you'll be placing in the region map to gain more influence, get some points, and possibly perform some actions. At the bottom of your board is the tiles display. You'll be placing your aspiration tiles from your personal supply here to later exchange them for progress tiles from the supply. Progress tiles are very important, so try to gain them as often as possible, because if you don't, you're gonna end up looking silly. Heck, you probably don't even know who I am, do you? Quick, name just one of my inventions. If you can afford the relevant cost, these progress tiles get placed on your progress map, giving you both the benefit they cover and the benefit on the tile itself. There are 3 types of progress tiles: economy, culture, and technology. Economy provides you a one-time benefit that you activate when you put your economy token on it. Culture tiles provide a permanent benefit and improve the action on the tile. Technology tiles provide a one-time benefit of a chain action. Chain actions essentially let you perform more actions. So in this tile, for example, if I did the invent action, I could change the share action or vice versa. Doing so costs 1 influence, and after I've used it, I flip the tile. Keep in mind, however, you can only use 1 technology tile per turn. Additionally, you also have wealth tiles. Wealth tiles provide you endgame scoring. You can only have 1 progress tile of each number for each type. Be strategic in your choices when selecting because they all provide amazing benefits. Now, I know what they all do because I'm brilliant, but I don't have time to explain them to simple minds like yours, so see your player aid for more information. With all that explanatory stuff out of the way, let's get down to the good stuff, playing around. So at the beginning of each round, except the first round, Cronus advances 1 step on the era track. Then in turn order, each player takes a turn consisting of a main action and then 1 or more possible chain actions. Your turn consists of 4 steps: prepare, perform, progress, build. The first step on your turn is preparing your chain action tokens. Chain actions are awesome and a big part of the game. Any action marked with this symbol lets you perform a chain action. Functionally, chain actions are almost identical to regular actions. To prepare your chain actions, take a look at the location of your influence marker on the influence track. If your influence marker is in one of these 4 sections, gain the indicated amount of chain tokens. So here, blue would gain 2 chain tokens. Now move that number of chain action tokens from the unavailable side to the available side on your society board. You'll be placing these chain tokens from your available section to the relevant areas during your turn to indicate their use. Chain actions are always optional. Performing actions makes up the bulk of the game. On your turn, you'll always perform a main action using one of your pillars. The big pillar is your epoch pillar, and the small pillars are your season pillars. Which one you use on your turn is dependent upon the Chronos marker and where it's located. If Cronus is on a wheel, play a season pillar. And if Cronus is on an epoch pillar, move your epoch pillar from its current location to a new location. To perform an action, either place a season pillar or move your epoch pillar to an action location on the forum. You can never place any of your pillars, season or epoch, on a forum that already has one of your pillars. So I couldn't place a pillar here, for example, because I already have a pillar in this forum. If you place any of your pillars, season or epoch, on an action location that has an opponent's epoch pillar, that opponent gains an influence. If and only if you can't perform a main action, play your season pillar or move your epoch pillar and gain 1 influence. You'll want to avoid this at all costs, however, or you'll end up looking like a dummy instead of a smarty like me. The first action we're going to explore is presenting an idea. All good inventions start with a brilliant idea. To present an idea, you'll first place one of your idea cards located to the right of your society board on a region display that has no existing idea cards. I'll place plumbing. Next, move the indicated amount of specialists of the same type as the card that you just played from your society board to this specialist tile. So I'll move 1 specialist from my economy home to the specialist tile and then a scholar. Remember, scholars are wild, so you can always use them instead. Once the citizens are placed, gain the benefit depicted on the specialist tile. So it's my lucky day because I gain 3 ingenuity points. When you're finished presenting your ideas, for each idea you presented, choose a new idea card from the display, even one on the top of the deck, and place it to the right of your society board. Next, refresh the idea display by sliding the cards away from the deck and place a new card closest to the deck. Do this for as many idea cards as you played this turn. Now, sometimes you'll be a big brain like me and present multiple ideas. When you do, only take new idea cards and refresh the idea display at the end of playing your last idea card. With the idea presented to the world, we can now invent that idea using the invent action. Inventing ideas advances your society's technology and allows new inventions to be shared with the world. To perform the invent action, choose any idea card located on a region display. See that bit of red text? That's the required milestone you'll need to invent this idea card. We briefly touched on milestones before, but let's take a deeper dive. This is a milestone tile, and on this card are 3 spaces that can hold 3 different diplomats. In game terms, a citizen placed on the milestone becomes a diplomat. This area here is the milestone's era. This is the diplomat action, and this is the society's new era. Having access to a milestone requires the milestone either be common knowledge or private. Private knowledge is any milestone tile in your own private display or a milestone tile in an opponent's display that's from a previous era or has one of your diplomats on it. A previous era is any letter that precedes the Chronos meeple on the era track. The other way you have access to a milestone is through common knowledge. Common knowledge means the milestone tile is either in the common knowledge display, located here, or is in the discard pile. If you meet the milestones requirements on the idea card, place an aspiration tile from your personal supply to the leftmost empty space of the tiles display under your society board and rotate it to the technology side. Then, move an available scholar or a specialist of the same specialty as the chosen idea card from your society board to the invent space. If the idea card has this symbol here in the requirements section, which thankfully mine didn't, you'll need to exhaust additional specialists or scholars by moving them from your home area to the relevant exhaust area below them. Scholars go to the exhausted home section of the idea card's type. Now lay that sleepy boy on his side. He's earned it. Keep in mind that he won't be available until he returns to the ready section of the home area of your society board, typically at the end of an era. That is a long nap. Finally, flip the idea card to the invention side. Now it's time to perform the innovate action and make someone else's invention even better. Your altruism won't go unrewarded, however, because your invention will bring new specialists to your society. But keep in mind, you can only innovate on inventions, not ideas. And you can't innovate on your own inventions, you big dum-dum. To take the innovate action, move an available specialist of the same type as the invention or a scholar from your society board to the innovate space. Next, take a citizen from your supply and place him in the upper home area of your society board in the same section as the card you're innovating. Now for an optional bonus. If you have an available chain action token, you may place it on the invention card and perform the chain action depicted on that card. So here, I had to perform another innovate action. Now it's time to share your invention and advance the wealth of your society and provide a few benefits to others as well. Think of this action as a group project, except in this case, you're actually okay with doing most of the work. To take the share an invention action, you'll need to have contributed to the invention in some manner. Choose and invent an idea on any region display where you have a citizen next to the card as either the presenter, the inventor, or the innovator. All of the following steps are performed regardless of who takes the invention action. First, the player who presented the invention scores ingenuity points equal to the era of the invention, indicated here on the invention card, for each of their citizens that presented. So here, Blue has 2 citizens that presented, and since plumbing is an era 2 invention, he scores 4 points. Next, the inventing player moves the invention card to the left of the society board. Then, the player who innovated on that invention places a citizen from their supply in the same region on the region map. As for yourself, the person sharing the invention, you can either take one wealth tile from this region or an aspiration tile set to wild and place it in the leftmost empty space of your tiles display. Remember, you can only have one wealth tile of each letter, so stop trying to hoard tiles, you greedy goose. Finally, all citizens that were beside the invention move to the matching region on the map. Those are the 4 main actions of the game that you'll often be performing. The rest is easier, I promise. Okay, so now it's time to call the specialists. This action brings citizens back home, ready to work, and helps develop your economy. To take the call specialist action, first place an aspiration tile on the leftmost empty space of the tiles display at the bottom of your society board and rotate it so economy is at the top. Next, choose one region and return one or more of your citizens from that region to the specialty area, matching the idea or invention type in that region from which they came. If there isn't a card in that region, their specialty is determined by the card furthest away from the deck in the idea display. Finally, if you have any chain action tokens available, you may select an invention card to the left of your society board and perform the chain action located on that invention card. So here, for example, I get to perform the gain influence action, which, wouldn't you know it, is the next action I'll be covering. Archimedes says if you perform more than one call specialist action in a single turn, you can't chain the same invention's action twice. Archimedes hates double dipping. And now it's time to gain influence. Throughout history, societies have increased their influence through war, diplomacy, and communal and global assembly, which basically means you're just going to be placing funny looking speech bubbles to gain cool stuff. To take the gain influence action, first choose a region that meets all 3 of the following criteria. 1, where you do not already have an influence token. 2, where you have the majority of citizens in that region. And 3, where you have at least as many citizens in that region as the number depicted on your society board above any influence token you wish to place in that region. So I can play this token if I want, because I have 3 citizens in that region. Next, return the number of citizens depicted above the selected influence token from the selected region map area to your home section that matches the idea or invention from which they came. If there isn't a card in that region, which right now there isn't, their specialty is determined by the idea card in the idea display closest to the deck, so economy for this example. Next, place the chosen influence token on the leftmost empty influence space in that region and gain the ingenuity points you cover. You'll also then gain influence equal to the number of face-up influence tokens you have on the board. So here, for example, blue would gain 2 influence. Finally, if you have any chain action tokens available, you may perform a chain action on one of your face-up influence tokens from any region, which in this case would be an event action. If you do so, permanently flip the used influence token face down. What better ways to share your discoveries, inventions, and culture throughout the world than to travel? This action lets you move your specialists on a region map and gain new actions, scholars, and ingenuity points. To take the travel action, place an aspiration tile on the leftmost empty space of your tile display and rotate it to the culture side. Next, move one of your citizens on the region map to an adjacent region. A region is considered adjacent if there's a blue rope connecting the 2 regions. Rope travel is the apex of human mobility. Even better than flight, brother? Much. Finally, if you have an available chain token and there is a sage meeple in the location you're moving to, place the sage meeple from that region to the appropriate section on your society board. Once placed, either perform the chain action of that region's knowledge tile and flip it to its scoring side, or gain the ingenuity points of every knowledge tile on the region map with the scoring side face up. Once scored, flip every knowledge tile to their chain action side. Eureka moments are pivotal in propelling your society to the new era and act as a gateway to numerous future inventions. You can only perform the Eureka action if the milestones of the Eureka display, located here, are from a later era than your private milestone. A later era just means that the letter on the Eureka milestone comes after your private milestone's tile's letter. To perform the Eureka action, move the bottommost card out of the common knowledge display and place it in the discard pile. Next, move your private milestone tile to the common knowledge display, along with any diplomats on it, and place it above all milestone tiles with the same or earlier letters. If a milestone ever leaves the common knowledge display, all diplomats on the milestones tile return to their owners' academies as scholars. Remember, you have a scholar limit, which is your private milestone's era number, which should hopefully be higher now since you took the Eureka action. Any scholars you can't house return to your supply because you can't plan properly and you're a failure. Next, you'll select a milestone tile from the Eureka display and move it to your private milestone display. Place a citizen from your supply on the new milestone tile. Finally, advance your era marker to an unoccupied space under the new private milestone's era number and receive the benefit. Iron is an era 3 milestone tile, so I'll move my era marker to the 3rd era and take this influence benefit. Sending a diplomat is a fantastic way to learn about a society's new technology and gain some awesome benefits. To perform the Send Diplomat action, move any specialist or scholar from your society board to either an opponent's milestone tile or a common knowledge milestone tile. If the milestone tile belongs to another player and that player's era marker is in a further ahead era than yours, that player gains 1 influence. That player, like myself, is better than you and you should feel bad about that. Finally, take the benefit depicted above the diplomat icon on the milestone card. So here, for example, I gain a specialist from my supply to the culture section of my home area. Now it's time to bring one of your diplomats home from some hard work. He's finished his job and now he comes back as a learned scholar, eager to share his knowledge with your society. To perform the Call Diplomat action, take one of your diplomats from any milestone tile and place it in your academy as a scholar, keeping in mind your scholar limit. Next, take the benefit depicted above the diplomat icon, located on the milestone tile that your diplomat left. Now you never lose access to your private milestone, but if the milestone is from another player and you take your diplomat off, you no longer have access to that milestone. Smooth move, dummy. And that was all the actions you can take in a game. You did it. You listened closely, and I'm sure you remembered everything. You don't remember a damn thing, do you? Now that your turn is almost over, it's time for the Aspiration Becomes Progress step. During your turn, you've hopefully accumulated several aspiration tiles. Replace each aspiration tile now in your tiles display to any progress tile you want of the matching type, keeping in mind that you can only have 1 tile of each number or letter for each type. Now, provided you can afford the cost, you may use your available specialists to build any progress tiles from your display, which means placing those progress tiles onto your progress board. If you want to build any tiles this turn, first you'll pay a one-time influence cost based on how many tiles are in your tiles display. The cost is not impacted by how many tiles you build. So here, for example, I paid 2 influence. However, you can only build a number of tiles up to your private milestone's era, -1. So my private milestone is in era 3, so I can build 2 progress tiles. For each tile you wish to build, perform the following steps. First, place the tile in an empty space on your progress map and immediately gain the benefit of that space. The benefits are described in detail in the manual. Second, pay the placement cost in specialists or scholars by exhausting them. If it's an economy, culture, or technology tile, you must exhaust specialists of the same type or exhaust scholars by placing them in the exhaustion space of the same type as the tile. If it's a wealth tile, you can choose which specialists or scholars you want to exhaust, but you have to exhaust 2 of them instead of 1. Additionally, you must exhaust 1 or more specialists for each previously played tile directly adjacent to the new one. So if I wanted to build this second progress tile here, I need to exhaust 3 total citizens, 1 for the base cost, and 2 because I'm next to 2 other previously played tiles. Now thankfully, you can reduce that total exhaustion cost by 1 for each invention card you have on the left of your society board that is of the same type as the progress tile. Sadly, I'm not particularly cultured. Also, if you exhaust a wealth tile, you do not gain a discount. If the Chronos marker ever advances to a new era on the era track, you'll perform an era change. At the end of the final round of eras 2, 3, and 4, you'll perform the following steps. Step 1. Adjust the turn order. The player whose era marker is on the rightmost turn order space moves their turn order marker to any space of their choice, moving the other player's turn markers down in the order if necessary. Skip this step if no player is on the turn order space. Adjust influence. Either lose or gain influence depending on the section of the influence track your influence marker is located. Here, for example, blue would lose 1 influence, while everyone else would gain 1. Step 3. Make all exhausted specialists on your home board available by flipping them back upright and moving them to the ready section of their corresponding homes. Retrieve all of your season pillars. Your APOC pillars stay on the board. For each Sage meeple on your society board, place a citizen from your supply to your academy, remembering the scholar limit, and place the Sage back to an empty Sage space on the region board. Retrieve any economy tokens placed on your economy progress tiles and place them back in their spaces on your society board. Move all milestone tiles remaining in the Eureka display, if any, into the common knowledge display. For each milestone that is pushed out of the bottom, place it in the discard pile so the name is visible. All citizens located on the discarded milestone return to the respective owners as scholars. Reveal the next set of milestones for the next era stack. And finally, step 8. Discard all idea cards from the previous era that are in the idea display and to the right of your society board. In turn order, for each card discarded from your idea board, take a new card from the display. Discarded idea cards are removed from the game. You did it. You finished the game. And now it's time to see if you have the most victory points. I mean, if your society contributed the most to humanity or whatever. First, you'll score ingenuity points based on the level you've reached on the influence track. Here, for example, orange would score 10, blue 5, and purple and yellow 1. Next, you'll score each wealth tile built on the progress map. See the player aid for that information because you're not getting it from me. I'm dead, and I have better things to do. Finally, score any 2 of your private goal cards. And the player with the most ingenuity points is the winner. And that's everything. I hope this tutorial helped you to enjoy this game. And maybe if it did, you'll consider subscribing to this small channel and doing all the normal YouTube stuff. And from all of us from Tabletop Turtle, goodbye, so long, and thanks for all the fish. Now get lost, you crazy kid.